Katharine Hutson. I currently live in Cairo, Egypt, but I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina. I was born here in Charleston. I went to school for 12 years at Ashley Hall. I then went on to do my university studies at Sewanee, Tennessee, the University of the South, and graduated in 1978. At that point, no, I graduated in 1982. I then moved to Atlanta, Georgia for a couple of years and married and moved on to Louisville, Kentucky. And I lived in Louisville for about 25 years, working in a law firm for quite a while as a paralegal. I then left the law firm and went to go work as an employee benefit consultant with a local consultant company. I did that for about 12 years. After the markets crashed after 9/11 in 2002, I was laid off from my job and took some time to try to think, what is it I really wanted to do? I was 42 years old at the time and thought, well, this is the time for me to really sit back and say, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And the thing I thought that I really wanted to do was to become a teacher. So I went back to school, worked, and was in school getting a degree, a master's degree in teaching. And I taught for 9 years here in the United States, in Louisville, at a couple of different schools. And at the age of 50, another epiphany came over me, and I decided that maybe now was the time to make a move overseas. So I did some research on some various overseas job teaching websites, gathered a pretty good bit of information, talked to some people that had some experience, and started applying for jobs. I immediately eliminated some places knowing I didn't really want to go there. The Middle East.
Like Kabul?
Kabul was one of the ones I eliminated. Actually, I didn't want to go to the Far East. Don't know why. Just didn't want to maybe go quite that far. Maybe it was a distance thing. Anyhow, so I started looking for available jobs. And there are a lot of jobs available for teachers in American schools in the Middle East. A lot. Not quite sure why that is. Maybe teachers don't stay in those jobs. But anyhow, I got myself, I applied to many jobs and got a job, first offer, teaching at a school in Egypt, in Cairo. Interesting story. I received the job offer on January 17th of 2011. And I accepted the job, verbally, waiting for the contract to be sent to me via email. And then 8 days later, January 25th, 2011 occurred. And for those of us who are familiar with that date, that was the start of the revolution against Mubarak. And for the next 13 days, the streets of Cairo and many cities in Egypt just raged against Mubarak. And I am sitting in Louisville, Kentucky, having just taken a job in Cairo, watching the whole thing unfold, thinking, what the hell have I done? I got an email from the director of the school about February 15th. We will completely understand if you do not want to come to Egypt now. We will respect your right to get out of the contract. There won't be any issues. And I thought to myself, well, I can't tell my mother about this yet, certainly. But it's February. I'm not going till August. Surely the streets aren't going to rage for the next 6 months. I think I'll go. And of course things died down as one might expect them to do. Unless of course you live in Syria, and then things never quite seem to die down there. So in August of 2011, I packed my bags, sold my house, put everything in storage, and went to Egypt to teach.
Now what do you teach over there?
I teach English. But I teach English at the American International School in Egypt. So English in that sense means not I teach students who already read and write English. I am not teaching any population of individuals to speak English.
So it's basically remedial.
I have some students that are very high level. Really,
Well, now,
very high level.
Explain the school that you teach. Where do you live and stuff like
Okay.
that?
The American International School in Egypt is situated in Cairo, and it has 2 campuses. I teach at the West Campus, which is the newer of the 2 campuses. It is west of Cairo in a very, very, very affluent area. That's where, the people who are the CEOs and presidents of a lot of the big companies live. So I live very near the school in a gated, guarded compound. We are about 30 kilometers west of central Cairo, and central Cairo means Tahrir Square. That is considered central Cairo. That's the central part of the
So you're basically 30 miles away from ground zero.
It's about 20 miles actually, but yes. I'm about 20 miles from ground zero. But because I'm 20 miles from ground zero, I won't know anything's going on unless somebody comes and tells me, or I turn on the news, or I flip open the computer and see that something happened. I teach Egyptian students. I do not teach American students. These are students whose parents want their students to learn under the American curriculum, which generally means that they learn critical thinking and independence. It's just generally the ability to think critically and independently, and how you do that and what that entails. I live in a community. It's a lovely community, but it is predominantly, overwhelmingly Egyptian. There, in the last 6-9 months, we have had an influx of Syrians move into the community, but that has not been noted in any way, one way or the other than that they're there. But my community is Middle Eastern. It is predominantly Middle Eastern. There are some other teachers from the school that live in that compound or community, but.
So when you say it's Middle Eastern, is it culturally Middle Eastern, or is it more, say, Western? In other words, do you eat with knives and forks? And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean, people eat differently and so forth, and I know nothing about it. So, but I mean, these are the people, the elites, the 1%, as it were, right?
Correct.
All right. Now, when it doesn't seem like the people in Tahrir Square really have an argument with those people.
No.
So it's not a class thing.
What, the struggles that are going on over
Right.
there right now? No. It really is not classist in any way, shape, or form. It's, I guess if you boil it right down, perhaps it's religious. I have friends who will say to me, anyhow, the group that I live among are more westernized. There are a number of the mothers of my students who do cover their heads. They wear the hijab. They do not cover their faces completely, although I have 1 or 2 students whose mothers do that. They wear Western clothes, but they will just cover their hair, and that's, not unusual. Right now, I think a lot of the struggles and a lot of the protesting that's going on is clearly along a religious divide. And really and truly, it is amazing to watch a single faith, the faith of Islam, so divide people. And that's exactly what's happening right now. I have friends who beg me not to refer to the Muslim Brotherhood with the word Muslim, because they will say they're not Muslim. They are not following the tenets of the Quran. They do not follow the words that Allah passed down to Muhammad. They are not Muslim. But they would say the same thing about any extremist group. And I have one friend in particular who becomes angry when she hears the name Muslim Brotherhood or the term Muslim Brotherhood. So I think it's clearly an issue of also frankly, education versus uneducation or no education. If you aren't able to read and form your own opinion based on information that you obtain on your own, then you will believe anything that anyone tells you. I think we're going to continue to see in Egypt, and I've been following it since I've been back here in the States, I think we're going to continue to see the group that is the Brotherhood continue to push their agenda. They honestly believe that they have a legitimate right, and I think actually where we're going to see the worst of it is in the Sinai, and it's going to get worse, a lot worse there before it gets better. We've seen that happen in the last week. It's really degenerating, and a big part of that comes from the support they're getting through those tunnels to Gaza from Hamas. They tried to close the tunnels off. It hasn't happened. It is a purely religious thing. Now, their ideologies obviously may be somewhat politically motivated. They want, to be in power, but it is a purely religious concept that's driving them.